Hello everyone, this is my collection of vintage RC helicopters. And from right to left, we've got on the far right my old school helicopter. It's a Kyosho EP Concept SR in a Hughes 500 scale fuselage made by Kyosho for this particular helicopter. It's got some upgrades to it, but uh, it's a mechanically mixed helicopter, which means you have one actuator per axis. So it has kind of a very like pure feel on the axis. There's no coupling or anything like that, so that's pretty cool. But it feels its age in flight, but it does actually fly pretty well. A little finicky, but here, let's get a little bit closer. All right. So, yep. I'm not gonna say much about it. I mean, it flies. It does what it needs to do. It's got a brushless motor and speed control and all that. It's got the upgraded rotor head. You can see it's purple there. Carbon blades. The wood blades are awful. And yeah, this scale fuselage just looks sharp, guys. I love that fuselage. Great looking in the air. It's just, you got to take that horizontal fin thing off or else it's going to vibrate itself into the tail rotor. Okay, and my first helicopter actually was an Ikarus Eco 8. And the configuration I have mine in is the something called CCPM. I believe that's cyclic collective pitch mixing. So that means that three actuators work together to move the swash plate. You see a little plate thing there at the bottom, kind of moves up and down and like moves all around, and that controls the rotor head mechanics. And yeah, it's a very lightweight helicopter. Here, we'll get a little bit closer. Very lightweight helicopter, as you can tell. It's got upgrades. I mean, it did not come like this. Those are all the metal upgrades. It's nice. It's lightweight helicopter, and again, it's brushless. And I would say it's definitely easier to work on, and I would say even a smoother flyer than this guy here. I mean, this is pretty old, but it does work pretty good. But it's a pretty good smooth flyer, but you could still tell it's, kind of old whenever you fly it. It's not as smooth as what I'll be talking about next, but it does work. It's a nice helicopter, especially for the time. Kind of fragile, so you have to know what you're doing, but it'll do aerobatics. All these helicopters will do aerobatics, but this is kind of what you used to get. This kind of stuff here, this type of like electric helicopter back in the day. They weren't really known for their power. It's more for hovering around and doing some basic hover training and basic maneuvers, but you weren't really doing aerobatics, heavy aerobatics with them, just because they were kind of like fragile and light. And then Mikado finally in early 2000s released Logo 10. They had the Logo 30, which was an older helicopter. Then they had the Logo 20, and then finally, a smaller size helicopter for everyone. It's Logo 10, and that is amazing. In comparison to these two, makes these two things feel like cheap toys. That's an amazingly smooth helicopter, and even with the flybar paddles and all that, I know we do flybarless today, but it has a good feel to it. It's very easy to control, nice and smooth. You can hardly hear it. Again, I guess I have the luxury of having some pretty nice equipment to pull from my little toolbox, but it's got a Contronic Tango 1000 kV motor, a Contronic, a sweet Contronic speed control. It's got decent stuff in it. And yeah, it flies really good. But here, just give you a close up of the rotor head. Here. So, this thing, there's like very, very little slop in anything. It's nice and tight, it's beefy. It's got meat to it. So, it's pretty good. It flies on 6S. The motor barely gets warm. And it's just an overall pleasure to fly. And again, these are cool too. I'm not trying to do 3D with these too much. I'm just really doing some basic pattern flying or just farting around in my backyard with these. But you definitely see the transition from kind of just more of a scale hover trainer and all of that stuff, I guess mindset from back in the day for these electric helicopters. Because remember, we weren't using lithium batteries back then. We were using NiCads, nickel metal hydrides, and they had no power available. These were barely flying. And then things changed a little bit here, still a little bit low on power, but this helicopter could accommodate bigger batteries and so on. It had a bigger, beefier gear train and all of that stuff. And it was able to grow really with the technologies available and take advantage of the power. So that thing in flybarless form is an absolute monster. And it still has a lot of potential today. Very easy to convert. But overall, you know, from oldest to newest vintage helicopter, you can definitely see the change. And regardless, they have their different flying characteristics, but I do enjoy flying them all. So hopefully you enjoyed this video and these helicopters. Happy flying. Over and out. Peace.